Hey friends, welcome back to Not Your Therapist, the podcast where we get real about life, love, and all the messy and magical moments in between. Today's topic is going to be one that's going to unlock a lot of aha moments for you. I'm confident about it. It's attachment styles. Have you ever wondered why you act the way you do in relationships? Why you might cling, pull away, or find it hard to trust? The answer might lie in your attachment style. This concept doesn't just apply to romantic relationships, it shows up in your friendships, your family dynamics, and even at work. By the end of this episode, you're going to know what your attachment style is, why it matters, and how you can use this knowledge to create healthier connections. Let's dive in. Hey there, and welcome to Not Your Therapist, the no BS podcast where I ditch the therapy couch and get real about life, love, work, and all the messy in-betweens. I'm Kayla Riley, a licensed therapist and founder of a group practice that now runs without me, giving me freedom to spend more time with my littles and to share the secrets of wellness I've learned with people like you. This isn't therapy. It's your go-to for real talk, practical tips, and the occasional truth bomb to help you thrive. And the best part? No diagnosis, no insurance company constraints. I get to take off the white gloves and tell it like it is because I'm not your therapist. If you're ready to break free from unhealthy patterns, navigate the messiness of life with more ease, and uncover the magic in your everyday moments, you're in the right place. Welcome to your healing era, friends. Let's do this. Let's start with the basics. Attachment theory was developed by John Bowlby and then later expanded by Mary Ainsworth. In simple terms, it's all about how we connect with others. It's deeply rooted in the way we bond with our caregivers as children. There are 4 main attachment styles: secure, anxious, avoidant, and disorganized. So I'm going to break them down for you. Secure is like the gold standard. People with a secure attachment style are comfortable with intimacy and independence, both of those things. They trust others and themselves, and their relationships tend to be balanced and healthy. Caregivers who foster secure attachment are typically the parents who are consistent, they're warm, and they're responsive to their child's needs. They create a safe environment where emotions and needs are validated. So they set boundaries, but they still validate their kids' emotions. The second one, anxious attachment. If you have this style, you might crave closeness, but you're constantly worried about being abandoned or not being enough for your partner. This can lead to overthinking, seeking reassurance, and sometimes feeling emotionally exhausted. This style often develops when caregivers are inconsistent. Sometimes they're attentive and loving, but other times they're distant or unavailable. This unpredictability leaves the child feeling uncertain about whether their needs will be met or not. Okay, avoidant attachment style is when people value independence above all else. They might struggle with vulnerability and they feel uncomfortable with way too much emotional closeness. Their mantra might be something like, I don't need anyone, I'm good, I don't need anybody. This attachment style typically arises when caregivers are emotionally unavailable or very dismissive. The children learn to self-soothe and suppress their emotional needs because they don't expect comfort or connection from others. They've grown up in an environment where they're not going to get it, so they've kind of accepted that they're not going to get it, and that's how they live their life. Disorganized attachment is a mix of anxious and avoidant tendencies. So this one's really often tied to unresolved trauma. It can feel like being stuck between really wanting connection, but fearing it at the same time. So this style is usually linked to caregivers who were frightening, abusive, or neglectful, leaving the child in a state of confusion about whether to seek comfort or protect themselves. These styles were shaped during our early years, but they show up in our adult relationships in fascinating and sometimes really frustrating ways. Attachment style impacts everything: how you communicate, how you handle conflict, how you show up at work. So, for example, if you're securely attached, you're more likely to approach conflict calmly and seek resolutions. You communicate openly, trust your partner's intentions, and it really helps de-escalate the tension. Anxiously attached folks, on the other hand, might feel panic during disagreements, so they're going to fear that the relationship's in jeopardy. They might overthink every single interaction. They send long texts seeking reassurance, or they feel devastated by perceived distance from their partner. Avoidant people shut down or withdraw to protect themselves. So they might avoid discussing conflicts altogether and respond with phrases like, "This isn't really that big of a deal," or "Why do we constantly have to talk about this?" as a way to minimize the emotional intensity of intimacy. Those with disorganized attachment often exhibit conflicting behaviors. So during conflict, they might oscillate between seeking closeness and then pushing away, creating this unpredictability in their relationships. So this can stem from deep-seated fears of both abandonment and intimacy. Your attachment style is not just about your romantic relationships. It shows up in your friendships, your family dynamics, and even at work. So in the workplace, securely attached people may thrive in collaborative environments where avoidantly attached individuals might prefer independent tasks. They don't like that group work. Anxiously attached folks might seek constant feedback, while disorganized attachment could lead to inconsistent work patterns. So understanding your attachment style can give you clarity on why certain patterns keep repeating in your life and empower you to break free from those dynamics. Your attachment style is not set in stone. Just like with anything in mental health, it's a learned way of being, and it can be unlearned, but it's going to take that awareness. It's going to take effort and intention. Healing is not freaking easy. Healing is hard. No one's going to do it for you. It's not just going to happen naturally. So if you want to shift gears and change the way that you are in relationships, this is going to be a hard road, but a really, really rewarding one. Let's get personal, y'all. How do you figure out your attachment style? So here are some questions to reflect on. Do you feel comfortable being close with others? Or do you feel the need to pull away? Do you worry about other people's feelings of you a lot? Do you worry about not being good enough or not fitting in? How do you react during fights and conflicts? Here's what these patterns might tell you. If you trust your partner and feel at ease with closeness, you're likely pretty secure. If you're constantly seeking reassurance and fearing rejection, you might lean anxious. If you find yourself avoiding vulnerability and keeping people at arm's length, you don't text back, you don't reach out, you don't initiate connection, you're probably avoidant. And if you feel conflicted about intimacy, you crave it and fear it at the same time, you might have a disorganized attachment style. There are also some great quizzes online to help you identify your attachment style. So if you're still unsure, maybe you could take one or two. Who doesn't love a quiz? I love a quiz. I'm going to link a couple of my favorites in the show notes for you. So make your way to the show notes, which are on my website, KaylaRiley.com, for those quizzes if you want to check those out. So now that you know your attachment style, I hope you know it. You probably know it. What can you do about it? Let's break it down. So if you are leaning more towards an anxious attachment style, I want you to focus on self-soothing and building independence and autonomy. Practice asking yourself, is this fear real or is it my attachment style talking? Working on cultivating trust in yourself and your relationships is going to help you break free from this anxious attachment and feel more secure. For avoidant, I want you to lean into vulnerability. Practice opening up even if it feels uncomfortable. Remind yourself that needing connection doesn't make you weak. We're social beings. So actually, good relationships, loving relationships is the purpose of life. It's the meat in the meal. It's everything. Good relationships is what makes meaning for most of us, if not all of us, just saying. So if you have an avoidant attachment, try to lean into vulnerability, even if it's in small ways, like opening up about one of your fears, opening up about something that's making you uncomfortable right now, something that's worrying you right now. And remember to do it with someone who's safe. Don't go to a hardware store for bread, people. Don't go to somebody who you know has a tendency to invalidate you or criticize you. If you have somebody in your life like that, don't practice being vulnerable with them. You're just going to prove your point and fall further into your avoidance. All right, for disorganized people, this one can be a little bit tricky because it's really often tied to deeper wounds. So for this one, you might want to consider therapy to process your trauma and learn to trust again. And don't just go to any therapist, go to somebody who does an evidence-based practice that targets trauma. So my favorite is EMDR, eye movement desensitization retraining. I think I just got that right. I might not have. EMDR, that's what we call it. EMDR is really based in brain science. I have done it myself as a client, and we have several therapists at the practice who've gone through the training. I haven't yet, but I'm probably going to. I think it's really powerful, and it's the only thing that really helped me unwire my triggers. So if you have some traumas in your past that you know you need to work through, I highly recommend EMDR. You can pop onto Psychology Today and then find a therapist, and on the left-hand side, click EMDR. Make sure it's someone who's EMDR trained. Seriously. There are other trauma evidence-based practices that target trauma, but I really am finding that one to be the most effective right now. And if you are someone who has secure attachment, you're really not immune to challenges. Continue to practice healthy communication of your needs and setting boundaries. No matter what your style is, the goal is to move towards secure attachment. So building healthier relationships really does start with understanding yourself and your own tendencies and healing those. A lot of people get stuck when they focus on the other person, like my boss is an asshole, or my partner sucks, or if only my dad would stop being such a jerk. Instead of looking at themselves and saying, okay, I need to change the way I function in relationships and start to pivot away from relationships that don't serve me. Whew. We did it. We covered a lot today. Understanding your attachment style is so powerful for your personal growth. Remember, it isn't about labeling yourself or labeling others and making them change. It's about creating awareness and using the awareness to build better connections, to change. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who might like to hear it. I really appreciate the promotion, and don't forget to give me a 5-star review. I really appreciate your support. Thank you so much. Until next time, take care of yourself and your relationships. You deserve connection, love, and peace. I'll see you soon. And that's a wrap. Thanks for hanging out with me on Not Your Therapist. If you're ready to break free from unhealthy patterns, head over to KaylaRiley.com and grab the free Get Unstuck audio training. When you sign up, you're going to become an NYT insider with access to exclusive freebies, behind-the-scenes content, and my most badass gems reserved just for you. And hey, if you're loving the show, the best way to support me is by subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing it with a friend. Together, we can help more people manage life's mess, magic, and everything in between. Remember that success is only measured by how profoundly you experience your life, so don't settle for anything less than epic. I'll see you next time.